Welcome to yet another edition of my Legendary Lick series where I go in depth, in deep, in the weeds of various legendary licks that cater to very specific subject matter. Sometimes I switch guitars to match the tones of these legendary licks, and today is no different because we are going to be going down a couple different paths to different genres. In this case, legendary licks you forgot were legendary because they're part of top 40 hits. Musical parts that contribute so much to the reason the song is great, but are overshadowed potentially by the singer or the beat or some other reason. So today we're going to examine some of those exact licks from top 40 hits of the past. Maybe you just remember the catchy chorus or the swooning little melody over the bridge, but you forgot about that legendary lick that really makes the song iconic. So let's get started with our first offering, a top 40 hit back in 1991. This is the solo from Hard to Handle by the Black Crowes. Now this is a sentimental lick to begin with. I actually played this song at my wedding. It's one of my favorite songs ever and definitely one of my favorite guitar solos ever, but I think people get lost in the chorus, and that's going to be a theme throughout this video as well. These are top 40 songs, meaning they have a hook, there's a reason they're in the top 40, and it's because of typically the chorus. So as a result, the guitar can tend to be overshadowed, especially a guitar solo as awesome as this. Really only guitar players remember it, so hopefully I'm going to encourage the world to remember this song for not only the awesome chorus and verses, but the guitar solo. And there's a lot of really interesting things to take away from this guitar solo. I'll go through it, but more importantly, I want you to adopt perhaps some of the ideas into your own guitar soloing because there's a lot of cool stuff that you can incorporate pretty quickly. The first being the anticipation. So when you're entering a guitar solo, there's a lot of different ways to sort of announce your arrival as a guitarist, and John Mayer approach, if you will, or the B.B. King approach would be to build a guitar solo like a conversation, like you start down here, space, 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 and then maybe the chord changes. Here comes the end. So all of that's well and good. That can be a way to approach guitar soloing where you start low on the neck, end high on neck with an exclamation of some kind. But this guitar solo takes the opposite approach, immediately coming in with that. So announcing the arrival, like opening the door, yo, I'm here. And that is well suited to this song as well. So the anticipation is what comes next as far as examining this entrance to the solo. So he doesn't come in on the downbeat. The guitar player actually comes in before the first beat of the solo section. So instead of coming in, he comes in. And that really kind of just yanks the listener out of their comfort zone. They're just bopping their head, top 40 hit, whoa! So that is what I really enjoy about this solo right off the bat. And we'll start to break it down now. We start off with this bend on the 9th fret of the B string. And it's just a half step bend, and you really want to dig into this one. So we're not just going, we're getting a lot of just extra sass. It helps if you have a lot of gain, definitely some humbuckers. And then we have a very interesting major pentatonic sound that happens throughout the solo. He's kind of blending between the B minor pentatonic and the B major pentatonic. So while some people tend to play the minor pentatonic like this, and then when they're told to play the major pentatonic, they just shift that same shape down 3 frets. I always encourage people to learn all the positions, so that way you don't have to shift position. It's not quite as robotic, and that is definitely on display in this solo because we are mixing those 2 positions together in this first phrase, which is this. So we actually have this blues note and then the major third. So really, we're making use of 4 notes right next to each other. By themselves, obviously that sounds pretty bad. But if you put them in the right order, sort of like a puzzle, so that is definitely a lick you want to steal. That is so awesome. Slowly, starting on the 7th fret of the B, slide down from the 10th fret of the G, and then we hit this little bar on the 9th fret of the D and G. And then this is where the major third comes in, that 7th and 8th fret of the G. Ending, resolving on the 9th fret of the D string. Up to speed. Oh yeah! So that is the first legendary lick that you forgot was legendary because it's from a top 40 hit and most people just remember the choruses. But you should remember that solo. Moving on! Next up on the list we have a song from a lefty. A solo, in fact, and it's from the song Heart-Shaped Box, the band Nirvana. The guitarist, Kurt Cobain, top 40, #1 Billboard hit. Nobody remembers this solo, they just remember, "Hey, wait, I got a new complaint." Pretty good. That definitely wasn't overdubbed. Anyways, let's take a listen to the guitar solo from Heart-Shaped Box. So first of all, we are down tuned to drop C sharp. So we're down a half step and then down tuned to drop D, but we're down a half step, so C sharp. And this is the fat string. Didn't know a Dan Electro could get that heavy, did you? Well, it can. And especially when we have 9 million fuzzes on the signal chain. Now, I'm not trying to go for the exact tone of this guitar solo because it honestly sounds kind of like a broken toy guitar amp, this solo, but it is some sort of fuzz effect. And the intricacies of this, it's on the surface an easy solo. A lot of what Kurt's known for is writing extremely simple yet extremely catchy stuff, which makes sense that he was on the top 40 so frequently. And this solo is no exception, but there are little things that you can pick out, little nuances that can help your guitar playing, mainly bending in tune. So while this had the grungy, I don't care feel, the notes were all still in tune. And this solo obviously uses a lot of bends, and that's something that I find a lot of guitar players, maybe starting out even to intermediate or even advanced, have trouble bending in tune, and not just bending in tune, but bending on rhythm. So with this guitar solo, you have to bend right up and right down into the next pitch, right on the beat, which is really a little bit easier said than done sometimes. So with this, we have starting on the 7th fret of the D string. In this case, it's a D flat or C sharp, however you want to look at it. And we hit that, and then we bend on the 8th fret of the B string a whole step. Then we take the same shape, same pattern, move it down a whole step and do the same thing. And then we're moving down another whole step, but this time instead of bending the 4th fret, we would move it up a bit and bend the 5th fret only a half step. And then it's right down that minor scale. So that is really the intricate bend right there, because you're used to bending the whole step, the first 2 phrases. So just mastering those little bends can really improve your guitar playing, even if you're not playing this guitar solo. So using these little bends, these intricate bends, I've gone over in many different lessons before, and it's obviously evident how impactful it can be, even if you're not shredding, if you're just playing something nice and simple, in this case, a #1 Billboard hit. It can be extremely effective. Let's move on with a little song called No Rain by Blind Melon. Now, the first thing you may think of regarding that song is this. Now that is a legendary lick, but you did not forget about that one. Everyone can identify that and immediately recognize the song. I'm talking about the guitar solo that happens in this song, and it's actually a lick because it happens multiple times, the exact same iteration. I don't know if the guitar player played it twice. It sounds almost identical both times it happens in the song, but I think it is absolutely worth remembering and shining some light on. So it starts off with a beautiful little melody on the G string starting from the 13th fret, and it just goes down that natural minor scale. Right here, we get to a bar on the 14th fret, and we have this little flourish. Nice and very poppy, very melodic, a great way to phrase a guitar solo in a top 40 song. But then we get a little blues rock action with this. A pretty classic sound, maybe like an Angus Young inspired just double stop thing happening in this B minor shape, and we're just barring. So this is a double stops, meaning 2 strings ringing at the same time, and we're going from the 9th to the 7th fret and doing this little pentatonic acrobatic trick. Very simple, but also very essential. And then the capper, the coolest lick of this whole solo. It's a very classic blues sound, very Stevie Ray Vaughan-esque because of how it's phrased and how clean it's played. I highly recommend you check it out. It goes like this. So coming down from this traditional, we are just cascading a descending pattern that essentially grabs the note after it and starts the new phrase of triplets. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's how you count these notes. So I would just practice this. And you can see when I'm doing hammer-ons and pull-offs and when I am actually picking. So I'm really alternating between a pick and a pull-off. this phrase is a little tricky. It actually is a bit of a roll of the finger, and you're gonna have to have a little bit of articulation with this to make it not so muddy, potentially. And we're on the 9th fret. At that speed, it's not too difficult, but when it's sped up, it's actually pretty difficult. I don't know if the guitar player actually meant to do that, because the rest of the solo is pretty standard as far as pentatonic tendencies are concerned. I honestly think that it was an improvised part that they were like, oh, that was so awesome, you nailed that. And I think they actually did copy and paste it, because like I said, it sounds exactly carbon copied from the middle of the song to the end of the song where it happens. So I think this was just like a one-take wonder that he nailed, because this is a really hard phrase. And not that I'm saying the guitar player isn't great, but I think that this was just kind of a habit breaker, which is what makes this lick a little bit more difficult than the rest of the guitar solo. So with that said, let's put it all together again. Nice. The next legendary lick we have for this video is rather difficult, I must say. Much harder than any of the other ones in this list, and well, I'm gonna throw it at you. Take it or leave it, but it is one of the coolest licks that most of you have never heard, because it's at the end of a 5-minute song, and it's part of a fade out. Guitar nerds will definitely recognize this solo. There is an isolated cut of this on YouTube, meaning only the guitar solo, no drums or bass or anything, just the live studio take. This is one take that he played it in. He, of course, being Steve Lukather of Toto. This is the end solo of Rosanna. I'm gonna play the whole solo, but I'm gonna break down my favorite lick for you guys. Here we go. So aside from the insane bends and just overall anger and sass in this solo, there are a couple choice licks that I could choose from to show you. The lick I'm going to be breaking down is the last lick that I played there. It appears to be the most difficult one, but it's actually simpler than that middle first really quick one. Anyways, it goes like this. I'll play it slowly. So obviously when it's slowed down, it doesn't seem that difficult, but when you speed it up, that's where the money is. And this relies a lot on hammer-ons and really legato, your fretting hand finger strength. So I'll just break it down note for note, because that's really the only way to teach a lick like this. It's out of the major pentatonic, but there's so much chromaticism and stuff that you should just kind of slow down the video if you want to and take it that way. We're starting on the 10th fret of the D, and we go up onto the G, 10, 12, 10, 12. We got a little slide here on the 9th fret of the B string up to 10. We're gonna hit the 13th fret of B. So, and then it starts to get a little tricky. We're going back down to the 10th fret and coming up this major scale. Pay attention to where I'm picking and where I'm hammering. And then we're gonna do the same motion, just from the 9th to the 10th on the E string. And then we have this little chromatic line. So before we get to that last part, just practice this. Try and get those even. And then to end the phrase, we have a bit of a dexterous move here. We're going 13 of the B string, down to 11 of the B string, and then 10 on the E string. And then, if you'll notice, my index finger is right here catching this 10th fret of the B string. That bend right there, as you could hear, a harmonic just bloomed out of nowhere because it is such a cool part and just a real emotionally high point of this guitar solo. So, finish it out. It's a nice little bluesy ending there. Now, when it sounds good slow and fast, that's how you know it's an amazing phrase. So I highly encourage you to even learn it at that speed, because it can work over a slow blues or a slow rock groove as well. As you can hear, it's just so tasty and colorful. Man, Steam Lukather, you nailed it with that one. And it was improvised. Crazy. Well, there you have it, guys. Legendary licks you forgot were legendary because they're from Top 40 hits, and people only really remember the hooks from those songs, but not anymore. At least for these handful of songs. Why don't you leave a comment? Let me know which episode I should do next in this Legendary Licks series. And of course, leave a comment on a song that could have been on this list that I didn't include. There are many more. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And until next time, keep shredding.